Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that cuts through all the noise, stacks up the sources, and really tries to pull out those nuggets of knowledge so you can be instantly informed. Today, we're plunging into a topic that, well, honestly, it defines pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Character. And we're going to tackle a common pitfall right up front, this tendency we all have to focus just on outward behavior, when what's really needed, what the sources point to, is deep inner transformation.
Yeah, and the sources we've looked at, they really confront this challenge that feels incredibly timely, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, the world's moving so fast. Every professional decision feels like it's under a microscope, and you've got new ethical dilemmas popping up, like overnight. So how do you actually build integrity, build leadership that lasts?
Right, not just the quick fixes.
Exactly. We're talking about something way more robust than, quick wins or the latest productivity hack.
So the mission for this deep dive is to really unpack what our sources suggest is the secret to truly effective leadership. And spoiler alert, it's not really about skills or strategies.
I know.
It's about something much, much deeper, the daily shaping of your character. And importantly, doing that in community.
And for you listening, this deep dive, it really offers a kind of shortcut to understanding this profound truth about lasting influence. The material we've pulled together gives us practical tools, real insights. It guides us beyond just surface changes toward what the sources call a soul-level resilience that thrives amid uncertainty.
Soul-level resilience, I like that.
Yeah, and Christ-like character that thrives in community. As we're going to explore, cultivating this kind of character, it gives you a competitive advantage that, well, frankly, no algorithm or strategy can replicate.
Okay, so let's dive right into this core problem then. This idea that we instinctively fixate on the outward stuff.
Right.
Ticking off the tasks, hitting the targets, making the presentation look perfect. It's so easy to confuse modifying our behavior.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, I'll act more patient
Uh-huh.
with that true inner transformation, which sounds more like, I am patient because Christ's love is genuinely shaping me from the inside out.
That distinction is absolutely critical. Our sources actually use this great analogy they call behavior modification, painting over rust.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You make something look good maybe on the surface, but you're not actually dealing with the decay underneath.
Right.
And this focus on the external, it's often driven by things like fear or pride or just wanting approval. And it inevitably leads to, well, temporary fixes, ethical slip-ups when the pressure rises, and this growing sense that something vital is slipping through the cracks. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is the real difference between just doing good things and actually becoming good?
That is such a powerful question. And it makes me think immediately of Jesus' critique of the Pharisees back in Matthew 23. He called them whitewashed tombs. Beautifully polished on the outside, but inwardly, well, dead.
Stark image.
It really is. It's a stark illustration of that danger, focusing only on the external righteousness without any genuine internal renewal going on.
Exactly. And that points to the core purpose of transformation. It isn't just about making us, better behaved.
Right.
It's about making us fundamentally new. Remember Ezekiel 36.26? I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. That's the true aim of the gospel. It's this profound transformation of our affections, our deepest desires, our core motives. It's changing what we want.
And this brings us neatly to this really fascinating concept our sources explore. They call it the sculpted self.
Yeah.
And it's not just like an improved version of the old you. The sources describe it as a new creation, right? Referencing 2 Corinthians 5.16.
Yes.
It's carved lovingly by the hands of the divine potter, and crucially, not for isolation, but for integration.
And the theology behind this runs incredibly deep. We were created in the imago Dei, that's Latin for the image of God, from Genesis 1.26.
Right.
Now, the fall, it shattered that image, but it didn't completely erase it. So redemption isn't just about being saved from sin. It's about being reshaped into the image of Christ, as Romans 8.29 puts it. So true Christian formation, then, it isn't simply about doing good things. It's about becoming good.
Becoming good.
Yeah, our sources put it really well. Goodness is not a behavior to adopt, but a nature to receive and cultivate. Even Jesus himself, remember in Luke 18, when someone called him good, he responds, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." He's pushing us beyond just labeling actions to understanding the very essence of who we are becoming. It's a fundamental shift in our being.
Okay, so if that's the deep underlying transformation, What's the evidence? Like the real tangible proof that it's actually happening inside us.
Well, the sources point directly to the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5.
Ah, yes. Love, joy, peace.
Patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Exactly. And these aren't just, optional enhancements or personality traits.
Yeah.
They're presented as undeniable signs of divine life actually blossoming from within.
And importantly, this goodness isn't something you can just, like, engineer through sheer willpower.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
It's cultivated. It's grown through what Jesus called abiding in John 15.
Staying connected to the vine.
Precisely.
Mm.
We don't manufacture fruit, we bear it. We bear it by staying deeply connected to the vine, to Christ. It's a picture of Christ being formed in us. It's an internal revolution, really, where the Spirit actively reshapes our deepest desires, our thought patterns, our very character, all from the inside out.
That's a really profound picture of internal change. But, okay, let's ground this. What does this all mean for real life formation, for, you and me living in the everyday world? Our sources really hammer home the absolutely crucial role of community in this whole process.
They really do.
They say things like, character is forged where lives collide.
Yeah.
And spiritual growth is accelerated by friction. I like that, accelerated by friction.
Me too, because community is more than just helpful. It's absolutely essential, just like Proverbs says. Iron sharpens iron.
Right.
Our souls are refined, they're honed in the context of genuine Christian fellowship. Think about the early church in Acts 2.
That radical community.
Exactly. A radical model of community where it was shared life, not just, being in the same room, that produced this profound transformation.
So isolation is actually a danger here.
A huge danger. It might feel safer, shielding us from that friction.
Yeah.
But it actually robs us of refinement. God intentionally uses other people, sometimes difficult people, to expose our blind spots, to confront our idols, and, to encourage our obedience, too.
Yeah. And this really stands in stark contrast to our kind of prevailing consumer culture, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Which often seems to promote this idea of self-optimization without self-sacrifice. Like, get better, but on your own terms, without real commitment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the body of Christ, it operates on covenant, not convenience.
Covenant, not convenience.
Yeah.
Sorry,
We're not customers just looking for a service. We're co-laborers. We're called to build each other up, like 1 Thessalonians says, to bear one another's burdens, Galatians 6, to spur one another on toward love and good deeds, Hebrews 10. So that sculpted self we talked about, it isn't self-sculpted in isolation. It's chiseled through the rhythms of accountability, grace, confrontation, and encouragement.
Wow.
Rhythms that only find true expression in a living, breathing community. You need the rubbing shoulders, the bumping into each other.
Okay, so speaking of living this out, our sources introduced this really fascinating concept they call the +3 zone. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the +3 zone. It's like thinking of it as a kind of spiritual altitude, a standard of living that doesn't just meet baseline expectations, but consistently surpasses them, aiming for what the sources call kingdom excellence.
Kingdom excellence, not just good enough.
Exactly. And it's crucial. It's not about overachieving for applause. It's about living from an overflowing abundance, this inner wellspring of transformation.
Okay, give us some examples. How does this +3 look different?
Okay, so the source material gives some great concrete examples. The worldly norm might be don't retaliate. Fair enough.
Right.
But Jesus' +3 standard is love your enemies. Big difference.
Huge difference.
Or the norm, give to those who deserve it. Jesus +3. Freely you have received. Freely give.
Wow.
And maybe in the workplace. Work with integrity. Good standard. But Jesus +3. Work as unto the Lord.
Ah, so it reframes the whole thing.
Completely. And this isn't just moralism, like trying harder. It's transformation.
Oh.
It's the spirit within producing excellence without.
So practically, what are some of the hallmarks then of operating in this +3 zone? The sources give some vivid contrasts.
They do.
Like doing your job well, that's the baseline it shifts to. Serving with joy and as worship, that's +3. Being kind to friends expands to extending grace even to enemies.
Big one.
Yeah. Instead of just avoiding lies, it becomes speaking truth in love and courage. Being tolerant, which often means just putting up with things, becomes living in holy compassion and bold conviction. Both hand. And maybe the most famous one, forgiving once, transforms into forgiving 70 times 7, basically without limit.
Yeah, these hallmarks really reinforce that the +3 zone is the practical outworking of a spirit-formed life. It's the visible expression of Christ's invisible work within us.
Mm.
And in a world that often just settles for mediocrity or convenience, living this way becomes a powerful prophetic witness. It just stands out. People notice.
Okay, all right. So we've laid this really profound groundwork. The need for inner transformation, the sculpted self, the role of community, this +3 zone. How do we actually start applying these principles, in our daily grind, our work, our families, our decisions? What does this sculpted self look like Monday morning?
Yeah, great question. The sources offer some really powerful practical applications for what they call walking the path of sculpting. First up, daily liturgies or rhythms, intentional habits.
Okay. Like what?
Things like a morning surrender,
Mm.
literally starting the day with, Lord, sculpt me today.
Mm.
Or scripture saturation, not just reading, but really immersing yourself.
Mm.
Then there's community engagement, which means don't just attend church and habit the body, really connect, be known, participate.
Get involved.
Yes. Also, generous evaluation. That means actually welcoming correction and feedback as a gift, not resisting it.
Ooh, that's tough.
It is. And finally, cultivating a service mindset, constantly asking, how can I exceed expectation and humility today? How can I go +3 right here?
Okay, so daily rhythms. What else?
Secondly, it's about vocation and the +3 ethic, applying this directly to your work.
Right.
Our sources call it vocational holiness, essentially being Christ right there at your job.
How does that look?
Well, examples. In business, you don't just chase profit, you actively try to create ethical impact.
Okay.
In leadership, you don't just manage tasks, you shepherd people. In healthcare, you don't just treat illness, you minister to the whole person. In education, you don't just transfer information, you disciple students.
So it transforms the job itself.
Exactly. It transforms profession into calling and calling into commission. Your work becomes a primary place for this sculpting to happen.
And our sources share a really compelling story about this, right? About Miguel.
Yes, Miguel. He was a sales executive, initially driven by that whatever it takes mentality, results above all else.
Yeah.
Very common.
Very common. But through his discipleship group and really digging into the Sermon on the Mount, he had this profound shift. It wasn't just behavior change, it was real transformation.
So what changed for him?
The story highlights things like he moved from kind of hiding product flaws to being totally transparent in disclosures.
Wow, risky in sales. Very risky. He went from pressuring his staff to hit numbers at all costs to genuinely protecting them, looking out for their well-being, and from this isolating ambition to actually building bridges with colleagues, collaborating.
That's a powerful example of +3 in the workplace.
It really is. And Miguel's story, as the sources note, it's rarely told in the mainstream business world. But it shows the workplace isn't just neutral ground. It could be a spiritual battleground and a formational furnace.
Furnace. Yeah.
The call for us is to be holy, be generous, be just, be Christ-like in every meeting, spreadsheet, and signature. It's about embodying that +3 zone right where you are planted.
Okay, and as a practical tool to help with this, especially in decisions, the sources mention something called the Kingdom Decision Journal. Tell us about that.
Right. This isn't like a performance scorecard. It's more of a practical framework for ongoing discernment, especially when you face those tricky gray area moments.
So how does it work? What do you actually write?
It uses prompts to guide your thinking, helping you process a decision holistically. You'd ask yourself things like, okay, what are the objective facts here? What biblical principles seem to apply? What values are really at play, both the world's values and kingdom values?
Contrasting them.
Yes. Then, what would love or goodness or self-control actually look like in this specific situation? What are the potential consequences, good and bad, of the options I'm considering? And importantly, what is the Holy Spirit prompting me towards? And finally, how might this decision reflect Christ to others?
That sounds incredibly thorough.
It is. And doing that consistently, it helps you become not just a more moral person, but a more formed disciple. It shapes your decision-making process itself.
That's a fantastic daily or weekly tool. But what about preparing for those really high-pressure ethical moments before they happen?
For that, the sources suggest something really interesting. Ethical role-play exercises.
Role play, okay.
Yeah, as a way to train through tension. Think about it. Soldiers train for combat. Surgeons rehearse procedures.
Right, you need practice.
Exactly. We need simulated exposure to ethical dilemmas before the real pressure cooker hits.
So how does that work in practice?
Ideally, in a small group, maybe your community group, or even with a mentor, you take Real-world scenarios, maybe a tough business dilemma someone's facing, a relational tension, a leadership pressure point,
Uh-huh.
and you actually act them out. You play the different roles. The goal is to build ethical muscle memory by actually rehearsing Christ-like responses in a safe space.
And then you debrief it afterwards.
Absolutely. The sources give specific reflection questions for afterwards. What pressures did you feel during the role play? What were the immediate temptations that popped up? What would a truly Christ-like, maybe +3 response look like? What biblical truths ground that response? And how could the group specifically support someone facing this for real?
That sounds incredibly practical for building resilience.
It really is. It's about preparation, not pretending we'll achieve perfection.
Which brings us back to the bigger picture. This whole transformation process, it isn't some kind of perfectionistic hustle, is it?
Not at all. The sources frame it as a spirit-led pilgrimage.
Hmm.
It's about a constant recalibration of your inner compass. And crucially, a continual return to the Jesus way whenever you realize you've kind of veered off course. Grace is central.
So if we connect all these threads back to the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think the journey of character formation, it really boils down to becoming, not just doing.
Becoming, not doing.
It's about allowing God, the divine potter, to actively chisel the image of Jesus into your heart, your relationships, and the very rhythms of your life.
It reminds me of a line from the sources, you were not made to blend, you were made to blaze.
Powerful.
Yeah, they challenge us. Live sculpted, live +3, live Christ.
And maybe that leaves you, our listener, with an important question to consider this week. What step, maybe just one small step, will you take to consciously let the Spirit shape your choices, your habits, your heart? How will you cooperate with that process of being transformed from, raw marble into a masterpiece? And remember, this isn't ultimately about individual achievement. It's meant to be a communal testament, a living mosaic of transformed lives testifying together to the God who makes all things new.